The Legend of Sunset Shimmer, Ocarina of Time. By Ganondorf 8. November 25, 2014. Chapter 9, Episode of Sidequests. Those final words Adagio mentioned kept piercing my heart, and it felt like I was about to throw up because of it. If I were to fail achieving the destiny that awaits me in this world, the price to pay was going to be my life. I mean, already I've encountered numerous monsters that have been trying to kill me, but to say that my life would be forfeit if I allowed Ganondorf to conquer Hyrule? I can't even think straight, which is why when I came out of the Great Fairy's fountain, I had forgotten about a certain someone.
So it seems that the Great Fairy has given you a new ability. Why? Oh, Flash Sentry. I completely forgot you were here, and there I go reacting as I usually do with a freak out. All of this stress and pressure is really starting to get to me,
I said.
The Great Fairy told you something that you wished she had not? Sometimes, she can bear the most unfortunate of news on a person, but she does not intend to make it so, as her aim is to encourage that person to try and adapt to the news that affects them. If you are really feeling stressed out as you say, then perhaps you should try a different approach which may be to your liking,
suggested Flash Sentry.
What did you have in mind?
I asked.
Why not take some time away from the main journey, and have fun going around the land and partake in what some would call side quests? I believe that you have done a couple of these back in the Lost Woods already, so perhaps you can continue on and explore to your heart's content. I would suggest spending much of the next day winding down and relaxing so that you will be ready to resume the main path without succumbing to even more pressure,
replied Flash Sentry.
Can I even afford to do that? I mean, if I were to suddenly deviate from the path and begin to goof off as it were, wouldn't that allow Ganondorf the opportunity to claim the Triforce, and plunge this world into darkness? If that were to happen while I was having fun, that would make me feel utterly crushed, and quite possibly stressing myself out enough to have a heart attack,
I said.
You underestimate the powers that the princess possesses, as does she.
So long as she draws breath, she will not allow the likes of Ganondorf to succeed in his plans of conquest. So relax, Sunset Shimmer, and spend tomorrow doing things at your own pace. By the way, I'm going to be heading down to Kakariko Village before heading off into Hyrule Field, as my companion wishes to spread his wings.
I could take you down there if you want, or perhaps you would like to be dropped off at Goron City. In either case, if you wish to hitch a ride with me, just grab on the talons of my companion, and hold on tight. Are you ready to fly, partner? Then let's go,
said Flash Sentry. He could have asked me if I wanted to ride on top with him, but I guess he prefers to fly solo while everyone else has to be held like they were some kind of prey. During the flight, I got to experience the majesty of soaring through the sky, and I couldn't help but feel jealous of the Pegasi back in Equestria who got to see this every single time. I told Flash Sentry that I wanted to be dropped off in front of the entrance to Goron City, and within a matter of minutes, he dropped me off at the desired location, and proceeded to make his way to Kakariko Village. The sun was just about ready to call it a night, and I wanted to get as much sleep as possible due to everything that had happened to me today, but the chances of me getting any kind of sleep would depend on whether Pinky decides to throw an all-night party, or make it a small affair with ample time for sleeping. During the night, something was taking place in Hyrule Field by the river which passes through the northeast portion of the field, and it was going to be affecting me when it came down to dealing with collecting the third and final spiritual stone.
We've searched Zora's River from beginning to end several times now, and we still haven't found any signs of Princess Ruto. then need to double our efforts even more if we are to bring her safely back to King Zora. We're already stretching ourselves thin by having doubled our efforts from the last time we came up empty-handed, and now you want us to double it again? If we did that, some of the men will end up collapsing from exhaustion, and what good is that going to do us? Finding the princess and returning her to His Majesty is the most important thing right now. Need I remind you about how he has been feeling ever since he discovered that the princess had gone missing? King Zora has taken no meals, and has barely slept these past moons as he has been worried sick. If he keeps this up, his health is sure to take a turn for the worse, which could possibly result in his death. Why not ask the King of Hyrule for assistance? King Zora specifically told us that this matter is strictly a Zora affair, and that we aren't to involve the other tribes in any way.
While we may have an alliance with the
royal family, there are some among our people who feel that His Majesty is nothing more than a figurehead in the political spectrum of Hyrule, and that the royal family wields the one and only power. How do you feel about that? It's not my place to judge, given that it was His Majesty's decision to agree to an alliance with the king, and as his subjects, we are to respect his decision even if it feels like we are being short-handed.
Now then, with regards to locating Princess Ruto, are you sure that we have searched every last square inch of Zora's river?
Several times at the very least, and nothing has turned up. Perhaps she traveled out into the field, but that would be tantamount to suicide, what with the evil creatures that lurk out here in the field during the night. I'm surprised that we're even out here in the field at this hour, as there's no telling when we'll be attacked next. The creatures cannot go anywhere near the water due to it acting as a purifier of sorts, and it destroys them the moment they set foot into it, so as long as we remain standing in the river, we shall be safe. Her Highness was probably aware of this as well, and made sure to remain in the sanctity of the water until daybreak. So, should we go into the field and see if she is out there somewhere? I'd rather not risk the lives of the men. No, we'll return to Zora's domain and report to His Majesty that we have yet to locate Her Highness, but I want to send at least 2 men down to Lake Hylia in case she happened to go there. They will take the shortcut that connects the domain to the lake, as I'd rather not have them go through the Gerudo Valley at any time, because those thieves aren't to be trusted.
The night went by without incident, aside from getting to sleep a little later than what I had wanted due to Pinkie Pie throwing a party to celebrate the defeat of King Dodongo, and the famine coming to an end for the entire Goron tribe. Since I was able to get a good night's sleep, it allowed my magic to make a complete recovery. As soon as I woke up, I looked around in order to see where Pinkie Pie was, but instead I found someone else.
Good morning. Waya.
Maud Pie, Pinkie's older sister, was standing right next to the bed, staring at me as though she were some kind of stalker, and I just had to freak out over the fact that it was just so creepy.
Why did you react like that?
Asked Maud.
You scared me half to death, because I wasn't expecting to see you just stand there and stare at me for who knows how long. By the way, how come you are here greeting me? I was expecting Darunia to be here instead, because she told me last night that she wanted to continue celebrating when I had gotten up.
I replied.
My little sister isn't here as she had something very important that needed to be taken care of. She told me that late last night, she realized that the problem in Kakariko village was still unresolved, and she knew that it had to be dealt with. Darunia remembered that it was her own actions which made the villagers fearful of the Gorons, so she went to the village in order to patch things up between them and us," said Maud. I can understand how important it is to apologize for any wrongdoing that one may cause upon others,
I said.
Darunia was fully aware that you were going to be leaving Death Mountain as soon as you had gotten up, and she told me to tell you two things before you are to leave on your journey. The first thing is that she hopes that she will see you again someday, and to play that song for her again. The second thing she said was that there is a passage one floor above that connects to the Lost Woods. This is because of the strange music coming from there reminded her of the forest, which makes no sense to the rest of us,"
said Maud.
"That's actually quite convenient for me,"
I began.
"How so?"
asked Maud.
"I actually needed to go to the Lost Woods in order to give something to someone who needs it, so I can save a lot of time by taking that shortcut instead of going the long way around. While it would be nice to say goodbye to Darunia in person, I know that she has important things to do, and my interrupting her would only cause the villagers more grief, so I'll take her advice,"
I replied.
"Sure, I guess,"
said Maud.
"What about you?"
I asked.
"I'm waiting here and in charge of things while my sister is away."
Also, I heard that the two of you have become sworn brothers as a result of the experiences you had together inside of the Dodongo's cavern. I must admit that she chose the right person to be her sworn brother, and that also makes you a brother to me and the rest of the Gorons, so now I can say without feeling awkward that I wish you good luck, brother.
"I will take my leave of you now so that you may get your things together and depart for the Lost Woods, but before you go there, why don't you stop the hot rodder Goron 2 floors above with a bomb? He often says that he will give out a reward to anyone who can stop his wild rolling, so it's something you might want to consider,"
replied Maud. She stared at me for a few more seconds before she turned around and left the room, leaving me to collect my thoughts and gather my things so that I can make my way up to where this Goron was rolling around. Once I got everything together, I made my way up 2 levels where I saw what looked like a boulder rolling around, but I knew that it was this hot rodder Goron that Maud mentioned just before she left. I waited for him to roll closer to me before I took out a bomb and threw it at him in the hopes that it would connect.
"Did you stop my wild rolling with a bomb?"
asked Hot Rodder Goron.
"I did as I was told that you would reward someone for doing so,"
I replied.
"Then you heard correctly, as I have been rolling around here for days waiting for someone to come along and stop me using a bomb. It was my way of knowing that our rock quarry was available to us again when someone did that. I notice that you have a pretty nifty bomb bag there on your belt, so I take it that you found my little stash which I left behind in a treasure chest for safekeeping,"
said Hot Rodder Goron.
"You mean this bomb bag is yours?"
I asked.
"Don't think that you have to return it to me because you know that it's mine, for I heard that Big Brother Darunia said that you were allowed to keep anything you found inside the Dodongo's cavern if you felt it important to your quest."
In fact, I feel honored knowing that the heroine to the Goron people used my bomb bag to save all of us from starving to death. Sorry, I got a little emotional there.
"Anyway, let me reward you for stopping me by taking back that old bomb bag, and give you this one which can hold up to 30 bombs, which should really make for some interesting fun times,"
replied Hot Rodder Goron. I handed over the bomb bag, and in return he gave me a slightly bigger one which was filled to the brim with bombs. As I thanked him for the bomb bag upgrade, and prepared to leave for the Lost Woods, he told me that whenever I was next visiting Hyrule Castle Town, there was a place called the Bombcha Bowling Alley which was to be my liking, and that was when he resumed his rolling. I then walked back down 1 level and into the passageway which connected to the Lost Woods, and within a matter of moments, I found myself back among the trees and ready to take care of some mask business.
You seem confused about what that guy said about bomb chus,
said Spike.
Of course, seeing as I've never heard of them before,
I said.
That doesn't surprise me in the least, Sunset Shimmer, but then not too many people actually know about them to begin with. It's a good thing that you have your trusty fairy companion to tell you all about bomb chus, as I happen to be quite an expert on the subject,
said Spike.
Oh, you are you?
I asked with a hint of sarcasm in my voice.
Bomb chus are a new type of bomb and looks like a small mouse-like toy, but that masks the fact that it's just as deadly as a regular bomb. When you set down a bomb chu, it immediately travels along the ground in a straight line, and explodes upon impact with something, or it just blows up after a while if it doesn't hit anything. I hear that there is a shop somewhere in Hyrule Castle Town that sells bomb chu, but for some reason they only open at night,
replied Spike.
They must not get many customers then if they open past sunset, I said. I also hear that the shop only has a limited number of bomb chu available, as it's a prototype of an explosive, I guess, and that they are very expensive to purchase. I'm not entirely sure if it would be a good idea to check out this bomb chu shop if the prices are going to be high,
said Spike.
That's true, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to check it out at least once. Who knows? I might end up getting enough rupees in order to get some, but either way I'd visit such a place to see about getting some information. Right now, I'm definitely following Flash Sentry's advice and spending my 6th day of this journey going about things at my own leisure, and having some fun with those side quests he mentioned,
I said. With the idea of having some fun stuck in my mind, I began to make my way towards the location of the child who wanted to look tougher, which didn't take too long to reach him. When I found him, he was playing his flute, so when I took out the skull mask and put it on, he got quite a reaction out of it.
That mask looks really freaky on you, but aren't you that Kokiri girl I met the other day who played me Saria's song?
If it is you, and I know that it is, who are you trying to fool wearing something like that? Still, that mask does make you look very scary, and I for one have been looking for something that would make me feel tougher. Being a skull kid can be rather dull at times because we have no distinctive faces to call our own, but with that mask, I could carve out my own identity and even scare my friends. I really want to buy that mask off of you, and I will gladly pay you to take it off your hands. This skull kid, as he just identified himself as being, paid me 10 rupees for the mask as he took it off my face, and put it on, screaming with delight before he disappeared. However, he only gave me 10 when the mask itself was worth 20 rupees, which meant that he ripped me off. There was no reason for me to try and chase after him, so I decided to leave the Lost Woods using any exit that was nearby, and proceeded to exit the Kokiri forest in order to do something else. No sooner had I walked a few hundred meters, I stopped when I saw Sonata Dusk sitting down on a blanket eating something, so I walked on over to have a chat.
Hello again, my friend. It looks like you found me for a change, or perhaps I found you and you didn't even realize it. Come, sit down and I'll share some of my food with you while we discuss about how your task of selling the skull mask went. You did manage to sell it, didn't you?
Asked Sonata. I walked forward with uneasy steps before sitting down on her blanket.
Your expression shows me that you had some kind of trouble occur, so why not tell me all about it? I did manage to sell it, but I ended up getting paid half of the asking price, and I feel ripped off, which makes me both sad and angry over what happened. Above all else, I have to pay you back for borrowing the skull mask, and it has to come out of my own pocket, so no matter what happens, I'm losing out in the end,
I said.
Yes, I've had experiences like that where I was a victim of someone who did not pay the entire price.
Oh, I was very upset with them, but not to the point where I would curse them under my breath, and hope that their family gets devoured by a ravenous beast sometime during the night. Heh, just listen to me sputtering out nonsense like that.
Well, you might as well get it over with and pay me the 20 rupees before you end up feeling even worse. Besides, there is a silver lining in that you can borrow the next mask which I just so happen to have on me.
Smiled Sonata. Okay, that bit she said about cursing someone who cheated her made me feel that Sonata was a little more deranged than what she appears to be. I paid her the 20 rupees even though I felt bad about having to pay the extra on my own.
Payment received, so now I present to you the third mask. Now where did I put it? Did you misplace it?
I asked.
Me? Misplace a mask? That's completely absurd. I know that I put that mask somewhere as I had a feeling that you were going to come along. I know I had it here when I stopped to rest for a bit and enjoy a little snack,
replied Sonata.
Wait a second. What is that you have there?
I asked.
Oh, this? It's a little spicy something that I adore so much that I just can't get enough of them. It's called a taco, and it's actually very rare to see a food not native to Hyrule. While I usually have at least 1 or 2 of these a day, when it's a Tuesday, I have to eat at least a dozen or so because they're just so good. That's why I refer to such a day as Taco Tuesday, because I eat so many of them on a Tuesday,
replied Sonata.
But it's not even Tuesday,
I moaned. I can't believe that this weird personality trait of Sonata's managed to make it through the transition from the human world to this world. You know, I can't help but smile along with her antics because she doesn't mean to be evil in Hyrule, but rather fun-loving, and not caring about what other people may choose to think of her.
Oh. Here is where I left the mask. It turns out that I was using it as a placeholder for my taco, and that's because I couldn't find my plates in my bag. The mask is not dirty by any means, so take a good look at what this one looks like,
said Sonata.
What in the world is that?
I asked.
This is the spooky mask, and as you can see, it is a sad wooden mask that is sure to scare anyone under the right conditions.
Granted, this mask does have a high scare factor and could probably cause someone to have an accident, but it's meant to be enjoyed in good fun and merriment. A mask like this could make anyone want to become as scary as someone they might idolize, or at the very least want to mimic.
You know, I seem to recall a small child in Kakariko village who is always upset about not being allowed to partake in an event that was recently started there because he said that he was too young. It had something to do with not being allowed to go on some kind of tour, which doesn't make that much sense to me, but maybe it means something to you? So far, you've figured out who should be getting my happy masks,
replied Sonata.
I've had you to help me with that,
I said.
Me? Helping you? Oh no, I've done nothing of the sort, for you are the one who has been figuring this out. Anyway, I've been talking long enough, so I believe that I will take my leave of you. I hope that we can meet each other again real soon,
said Sonata. She then picked up her blanket, which caused me to fall off it and onto my rear as I was still sitting on it, but she was able to pick up all of the utensils on it without breaking anything, and then she placed it all into her bag before walking off and eating her taco. I then took a closer look at the spooky mask, and immediately I just had to turn my head away in disgust due to how hideous looking this thing was. Sonata wanted me to sell something like this to someone? She must have been kidding, as who in their right mind would want to wear this on their face? Also, I couldn't believe that she wasn't aware of the fact that she was telling me where these masks she gives me are supposed to go to, or maybe she is aware of this and chooses to ignore the fact.
Is that a mask?
Asked Spike.
According to Sonata, it's meant to be scary,
I replied.
It looks more like a shield than a mask to me, so would that mean you would be wearing a shield on your face? In any case, that Sonata Dusk is creepy whenever she smiles as though she were hiding something. I just can't get over the fact that she has such an optimistic attitude towards life in general, but I do have to give her props for being involved in such a unique business that makes people happy. So, I take it that you'll be heading off to Kakariko Village next?
Asked Spike.
Even though she says that she didn't help me figure out where these masks are supposed to go, she actually did and probably refuses to acknowledge the fact in her own mind. She said that there was a small child who isn't allowed to be a part of a recent event that has begun in the village. That must be the heart-pounding grave-digging tour that is held at the graveyard every night.
I replied.
We have to go back there again?
Asked Spike.
But this time we have to do so during the day. I was also thinking that we could stop by and say hello to Darunia while we're there, but that may not be a good idea to do right now as she's probably busy trying to repair the strained relationship between the Gorons and the people of the village.
I replied. While it would have been nice to drop in on Pinkie Pie to thank her for everything she had done, I didn't want to add any more stress onto her as that could result in an anger relapse. It didn't take two for Spike and I to make it back to Kakariko Village, and upon entering the main entrance, the village felt deserted as though everyone had abandoned the place.
Now, where do you suppose everyone has gotten off to, Spike? You don't think that the villagers fled for their lives when they saw Darunia coming their way? Or they could all be gathered at that house over there,
replied Spike as he floated off in front of me to point out that there was a large gathering by one house which stood on top of a slight high-rise.
Oh yeah,
I blushed for having not realized that.
It must be quite a serious meeting if it has the attention of the entire village. I'm sure that Darunia must be having a hard time in there having to explain her actions in the past week, and asking for the village to forgive her. I'm also certain that she will bring you up as being the one who saved the Gorons from starving to death, and that you did so in the name of the royal family as you are their messenger after all. Okay, you're the messenger of the princess and her attendant, but that should still prove to be reasonable enough,
said Spike.
Definitely not a good idea to see her right now,
I said.
That would be for the best as she needs to focus on mending those relations,
said Spike. Leaving Pinkie to deal with the prospects of fixing the broken ties was a little difficult for me to do, but I knew that I had to as she had her purpose to fulfill. Making my way over to the graveyard and entering it, I was surprised at how different it looked during the day as opposed to the night. It was certainly more lively for a graveyard, but at least it was something that Spike was able to tolerate as he didn't want to be back here again after what happened last time. That was when I noticed a small boy walking on the cobbled pavement swinging about a stick as though he was pretending to be something, or perhaps someone. Could this be the person who wanted the spooky mask? This sweet, innocent-looking child? I'd better talk to him first just to make sure that he is the right one, so I walked on over to see what he had to say.
Hello there,
said the boy.
Hello to you as well. What are you doing here in the graveyard?
I asked.
Little kids aren't allowed to go on the heart-pounding grave-digging tour that is advertised on that sign over there because we're viewed as being way too young to see something very scary come out from the ground when Dampe, the gravekeeper, starts digging.
So to make up for that fact, I come here during the day and pretend to mimic her by swinging around this stick as though it were a shovel. It's fun and all, but I can't help but think that my face isn't really cutting it for me. I mean, it looks too cute to really be as
scary as what Dampe's face is like,
replied the boy.
This may sound a little strange to you, but I do happen to have something that might be to your liking,
I said.
What is it?
Asked the boy.
I have this mask in my possession which may do the trick, but first I need to show it off to you in order to see what kind of reaction I'll get. Just give me a second to put it onto my face,
I replied. Wearing this mask, based on what I knew about it, didn't feel right, as I didn't want to scare this poor boy, but if I was going to make a sale, then I had to show it off, and risk getting into some trouble with his parents. After breathing a huge sigh, I put on the spooky mask and turned to face the boy.
Ah! It's Dampe the Gravekeeper. Hey! Oh! Is that the thing that you wanted to show me?
Asked the boy.
It's called a spooky mask and it's designed to make people who wear it look scary,
I replied.
I get a bigger scare out of that mask than I do with Dampe. You know, if I were to wear that mask, I'd really be able to imitate Dampe by looking the part as close as possible without being creepy. Would it be okay if I purchased this mask from you? I don't mind paying for it, as I do have rupees in my pocket. With this mask, I'm gonna dig and dig, just like the Gravekeeper herself,
said the boy. I told him that the purchase price of the spooky mask was 30 rupees, and he paid me for it in full without even asking me if I was telling him the truth. He then put the mask on and began to move about like before, but this time with a more happy expression on his face. I decided to leave him to his own business, and proceeded to leave the graveyard with my wallet being more content. That sale was much better than the last one where I was ripped off, but now it left me with a decision as to where I should go next. On the one hand, I could try to find Sonata in order to pay her back the 30 rupees and see about getting the next mask, or I could go to Hyrule Castle Town, and check out that bomb-cha bowling alley which the hot rodder Goron told me about before I left Goron City. After mulling over both choices for a couple of minutes, I decided to visit the town because I could also find the Great Fairy who lives by the castle, and also speak to both Twilight and Applejack. As I quickly left the village to reach the town, I wanted to see if I could spot Sonata again before she would unintentionally spot me, but it looked like she was pretty far away by now.
What are you doing?
Asked Spike as we approached the drawbridge.
I wanted to see if I could spot Sonata and pay her back the money for that mask, and maybe even borrow the next one, but it looks like she's going to end up finding us by the looks of it. That means you should expect another freak out from me when that happens,
I replied.
Already taken a mental note of that,
said Spike.
Really?
I asked sarcastically.
Those freakouts, as you call them, are starting to be rather frequent, so I brace myself for one to happen, which seems to occur roughly once every time we travel to another location. People here don't mean to scare you, Sunset Shimmer, as they're just acting in a way that makes them eccentric, but if they were threatening you in some way, or planning on attacking you, then you can freak out. You just need to have an open mind and expect people to just pop up out of nowhere,
replied Spike. Finding the bomb-cha bowling alley was easy enough, and upon opening the door and walking inside, Spike and I came across a rather large man sleeping by the counter, and it certainly took him by surprise.
Then again, even people who look and act casual can be scary. How can someone be sleeping while their place of business is open?
I asked.
I don't know, so why not ask him instead of asking me,
replied Spike. I wasn't feeling very comfortable talking to this man because he had a nose ring on his face, and he was a lot bigger than most other people I've seen in Hyrule, but I suppose I had to speak with him, otherwise I'd come across as being both petty and rude. As I stepped a few paces towards him, his eyes flickered open and he blinked for a few moments, which indicated to me that he had indeed been sleeping for some time.
Hey! What they? Uh-oh! A customer! Ahem! I am Iron Will, and welcome to Hyrule's newest cutting-edge extravaganza, BOMBCHU Bowling. The rules to this game are very simple, so please listen up. You will be given 10 bomb chu, and your objective is to hit all 3 targets over there to my right. Now, while it looks like there is only one, if this target gets destroyed, the next one will appear, and if you destroy that, the final one will show up, ready for you to blow up. If you manage to destroy all 3 targets and not run out of bomb chus, you'll receive a fantastic prize. Please note that prizes will not be revealed until you have paid to play, and one game will cost you 30 rupees. Why were you sleeping just now? I'm surprised that you even did that considering that this is a place of business,
I said.
Yeah, I am sorry about that, but I've been really busy getting this place set up and ready for business. By the time I opened up shop the other day, I was just so exhausted that I've been sleeping whenever no one is around,
said Iron Will.
Then I'm sorry for making such an accusation, I said. You didn't know, so there's no need for you to be sorry. Oh! Before I forget, I do need to tell you that there are some obstacles that you'll need to avoid if you want to destroy all 3 targets. One's some kind of ancient trap I found during my younger days when I was an explorer, and the other 2 are a small cuckoo and a big cuckoo who will use their own bodies to block your shots. You know, I wasn't surprised the other day when so many people decided that they wanted to spend their rupees just to blow up the cuckoos over and over. Granted, those little fellas didn't feel a thing, but the number of times they got blasted was surprising,
said Iron Will.
People come here to blow up innocent creatures?
I asked.
Well, I wouldn't call them innocent as they are anything but that.
Since you have that shield with you, that tells me that you are an adventurer or some kind, so let me give you some useful advice. Cuckoos have been known to be spotted in various places throughout Hyrule, and while you may have the urge to want to beat one up, you'll soon discover that doing so will cause it to react and call others to take revenge.
You wouldn't believe how many people came in here the other day covered from head to toe in feathers, and having pecking marks all over them. I guess hurting the cuckoos here is a means of relaxing and relieving some stress, even though it does mean they don't get any prizes. For those who want to spend their time here doing that, I let them play for free,
replied Iron Will.
Then I came here in order to win some prizes, and maybe blow up those cuckoos to relieve my stress, I said. Such a positive attitude you have there, kid. That'll be 30 rupees please,
said Iron Will. While it sounded cruel to want to blow up cuckoos and see them get hurt, Iron Will, as he called himself, said that the cuckoos don't feel a thing, so maybe blowing them up with bomb chus will give me some sense of relaxing. Right now, I wanted to win some prizes, so I paid him the entry fee.
Okay.
Here are your 10 bomb chus, so head on over there and have yourself a blast.
Make sure that you do not step over that line, otherwise that's cheating, and you will be disqualified. Also, you have as much time as you want to use all 10 of your bomb chus. Finally, here is the prize that you can win if you manage to destroy all 3 targets. This here is a lovely piece of heart which can perk you up instantly.
He then gave me a small bag filled with 10 bomb chus, and I took one of them out in order to see what it really looked like. Well, what do you know? Spike was right in that they look like mice, but it certainly wasn't small in size but more towards medium. I looked over it for a while, wondering just how I was supposed to use it, and that was when Ironwool spoke up again.
I take it that this is your first time using a bombchu, right? Don't worry about looking like some kind of fool, as I've seen people like you lots of times. All you have to do is set it down in front of your feet, and it will take care of the rest.
I followed what he said and placed it down, and as soon as I let go, it began to dash off in a straight, hitting the target, causing it to blow up, and the wall it was on to fall apart, revealing the second target. It gave me quite a surprise seeing such a cute thing go off and do that.
Your expression is also one that I've seen lots of times. That was pretty good for your first attempt, so keep it up, and that piece of heart is yours.
I felt a rush of adrenaline over the fact that a single bombchu could do so much, and I wanted to keep on going for as long as possible, and as long as I had enough rupees. For the next half an hour, I continued to play in the bombchu bowling alley, blowing up the targets, blowing up the cuckoos, and both succeeding and failing several times. In addition to winning the piece of heart, I also won another bomb bag, which was even bigger than the one Hot Rodder Goron gave me, as this new one could hold up to 40 bombs, and I even won some bombchu. Eventually though, I did have to stop playing and move on to the next task, which was to see the Great Fairy living near Hyrule Castle. After thanking Ironwool for the fun and excitement, I left the market and made my way up to the castle grounds.
You certainly made out like a bandit in there,
commented Spike.
That was probably the most fun I've had in a very long time, and the goodies that I got out it are sure to make the upcoming trials a little more bearable. Now then, we were told by the Great Fairy of Power that her fellow fairy is somewhere in the vicinity of the castle. If you were the entrance to a Great Fairy's fountain, where would you choose to hide yourself away from the masses?
I asked.
It would need to be somewhere completely inconspicuous, like say that boulder way over there on the other side of the main gate,
replied Spike.
Funny that neither of us noticed that when we were last visiting here,
I said.
We were accompanied by that girl Malin, and last time we were in a rush in order to meet with the princess, and we did have that issue with the royal guards and the Gerudo having an argument. I guess now that we're here on a more pleasant business, we're seeing things that were oblivious to our eyes before,
said Spike.
Are you trying to be philosophical?
I asked.
Maybe,
answered Spike.
Keep at it and you may end up surprising someone. Okay. The main gate still has the same number of guards that were patrolling it last time, so I'm guessing that there hasn't been any increase in numbers, so we should be able to climb up the vines and make our way over without anyone seeing us. I wonder though if I should just ask one of the guards to just let us in, as we do know the princess,
I said.
We know that, but they don't,
said Spike.
Good point,
I said, and it certainly was, for as far as the entire castle was concerned, Twilight had never seen me before in her life, and perhaps it's for the best that image stayed in their minds, as it makes my work here a lot easier. By using the same method of getting past the gate as before, I soon came upon the boulder and destroyed it using a bomb, and hoping that the sound doesn't bring any kind of unwanted attention. When the boulder was cleared away, it revealed a small hole which I had to crawl through, which didn't make much sense, but in any case I found myself inside the Great Fairy's fountain, and proceeded to play Twilight's lullaby in order to summon her.
Welcome Sunset Shimmer. Hey! Adagio? Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be the Great Fairy of Power?
This Great Fairy turned out to be Adagio Dazzle, leader of the Dazzlings, as well, but how does that make any sense? Is there something here that I'm missing, as since how can she be the same person twice?
Ah, so you have seen my sister, have you not?
I take it that she did not tell you that all of us Great Fairies look identical to one another, Sometimes we are of the belief that we are 6 separate entities who serve the forces of good as decreed by the great goddesses. Other times we believe that we are all just the one being who warps from fountain to fountain as a means of greeting the chosen ones whenever they happen to find their way in here.
Whichever version you believe does not change the fact that you have come all this way in order to seek my guidance as well as my help. I am the Great Fairy of Magic, one of 3 who share this name, and I am here to give you a new magic spell. My sister has told me that you have been relying too much on your own magical powers, and it caused you to exhaust yourself for a time. Is this what I speak of true?
Asked Adajo.
My magic was completely drained throughout the latter part of yesterday because I overdid trying to deal with some monsters,
I replied.
Using your own natural abilities in order to fight for good is a noble thing, but if you become reckless and try to do too much, then it can become a problem that evil will try to take advantage of. That is why I am giving you this magical spell, for it uses a different kind of magic which is separate from your own. This is Din's Fire, attack magic which can engulf your enemies in flames. It can also be used to light torches when there is no fire nearby. Be aware though that this magic does contain the essence of Din, goddess of power, so know that you are dealing with very potent magic. It is not wise to misuse the powers of a great goddess,
said Adajo.
This gem you gave me contains the magic?
I asked.
That red sphere in the center of the prism contains the essence of Din, and while it may not be as strong as essence as that of the Triforce of Power, it is still more powerful than most magic you can find in Hyrule, barring one's own abilities.
Now then, I am aware that you plan on retrieving the 3rd and final spiritual stone, yes? There is one here in the castle who can help you in your search, and she is someone that you have met before.
There is another great fairy that you can find in the place where this one is going to send you, and she will grant you another magic spell to aid you in your quest. That is all the information that I am able to give to you, Sunset Shimmer, and so I shall take my leave of you. When battle has made you weary, please come back to see me,
replied Adajo, and with that she disappeared just like last time. But this version of her left me with a pleasant outlook rather than a miserable one. Also, she said that someone from the castle would be telling me where my next destination was going to be. Could that someone be Twilight? I would like to talk to her again, as there is so much I want to say. I quickly made my way back outside, only to discover that Applejack was standing in my path with her arms folded, and she had a stern look on her face. I wonder what has happened that's made her more intense than usual. To be continued. Chapter 10, Up the River.